Music Business, What Is This? Is a podcast that focuses on the ever-changing music industry and presents issues and concerns that the average and above average musician has or will encounter. Hey everybody, this is Richard Johnson and I'm here. This is Music Business. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Romaine Johnson. All right, so today we're going to be talking about musicians and customer service. That's right, musicians and customer service. And this is something I talk to my students about, I talk to my friends in bands about, and the reason I asked her to join us today because she's a specialist. So before we get started, I just would like her to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about your background and your profession and what your job is.
Okay. Hey, thank you for having me, Richard.
Of course.
I appreciate it. My name's Romaine Johnson, as Richard said, and I've been in the business of service for over 25 years. I started in retail at various management positions, and I'm currently in banking.
Okay,
and,
banking. We all like that money. Musicians love money.
And, you know, what I found out is that whether in banking you're customer facing, or, you know, you have an internal business partner, it's always service. Service is the foundation of, you know, really even outside of banking and retail, of any relationship, you know, because at the foundation of it, it is trust and building relationships.
Okay, so let's talk about that, the relationship. And this is something I think is very important for all musicians, the relationship that you have with your customer, or in musician terms, the person attending the gig or the concert, and how that is created and how you maintain that. Because we all want to have a good relationship with our customer because they buy our product, which is our music, or it could be shirts, hats, whatever it is we're selling. But it's sometimes more than that. This relationship aspect to anything, but specifically music, is extremely crucial because without that relationship, we'd be playing in somebody's basement. So what would you recommend for a musician specifically to foster? What can they do to foster that relationship or create that relationship or make it even better?
You know, from a musician standpoint, really what I do, which can transfer, is you have to be your authentic self, you know, and, you know, you really have to hone out those, you know, relatable skills to a relatable music or relatable, you know, instances in people's life. You have to be able to relate to them. And if you don't, then you're going to make the customer feel undervalued. You know, people want to feel like when they go in that they feel valued, that you know them. And you know, I'm not a musician, but from a musician standpoint, you know, the songs that you play, you know, the engagement that you have on the stage, you know, making people feel like you're talking to me.
Okay, so it's got to be personalized.
Personal.
Right.
It makes it personal. You know, people are inviting you as a musician in their car, in their home, at their family dinner. Right. So really,
so they're like a part of the family, a friend.
Exactly.
Even though it's a bunch of friends.
Exactly. So, you know, people say your doctor, your lawyer, your banker. Let's add in your musician, or like the important people in your lives, because they're with you through the good times, through the bad times, you know, so
we create
really,
memories.
Exactly.
Your whole life, you know.
You're creating those memories, and, you know, you're with me when I'm healthy, when I'm sick, when, you know, my man then left me or something like that, you know, so it's really making it relatable and personable and, you know, just being authentic, because I think sometimes as, you know, maybe particular artists, they change and then they lose, you know, maybe some of their followings. Okay,
so let's talk about this being authentic, because we hear this a lot as artists, and artists say, yeah, I'm going to be myself, I'm going to be authentic. Okay, yes, we want you to be authentic. But the question is how authentic? So, and I bring this up because I walk off stage. I'll use myself for an example. Okay. And the way I talk to my customers may not service everybody, or everyone may not understand it. Right. So I may use some terms and language that I would use with my friends. That's authentic. that may not be most appropriate with the people in the audience. So when you say authentic, how would you gauge as a customer, is that going to be inviting to you seeing another show or telling friends, or you being like, oh no, this person crossed the line because I don't curse or I don't blah, 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 whatever that is. And they're just saying, that's how I am. I'm being authentic.
Right. I think it's aligned with that, because you said something key. You're not going to be able to relate to everybody, because that's unreasonable. Right. You have different people who like different things, who have different backgrounds. They may like to listen to the music, but, they may not like you said, the cursing. But, think about, and I love Jill Scott. So think about like Jill Scott. When you go to her concert, her feet hurt, she kicking off her shoes. That's relatable. Okay. You don't.
Because we all have that issue at some point.
Right. Whether man or woman.
Right. Doesn't matter. Right.
Man or woman doesn't matter. You're gonna kick off your shoes. Your feet gonna hurt. You don't been on the stage. You're working. Like that's when I say relatable. You have to be mindful of your surroundings. I can relate it to like what I do. It may be different levels of leadership that I talk to. I can give the same message, but how I deliver it is a little different.
Like the way you would explain something in the bank to me is probably different than somebody at the bank.
Exactly. So, it's just being mindful. Like if you see, somebody who looks different than you, walk up to you and they engage with you in a certain manner, you might have to mirror that a little bit and not being yourself, but just engaging in a way that maybe you wouldn't be talking to your childhood friend.
Okay. So you're talking about taking social cues.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm kind of reading between the lines. Okay, this person greeted me very formally. Okay, maybe I should be a little more formal or take that route as opposed to just going in guerrilla, whatever it is you normally say, right? Okay.
So with that, Richie, it's like, so it's not being yourself, but, if you engage with your parents, you're going to engage with them a certain way. When you see the elders, you're going to engage with them a certain way, because that's how we taught in most backgrounds.
And that's a very valid point. That's something I wanted to bring up. Sometimes it's a generational thing.
Yes.
Right. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about customer service, because everybody wants gigs. They want work. They want money. And we all understand that. But there's a reason why some people get it and other people don't. And a lot of that is your service or how you relate to your customer, right? So if you're not observant enough to see who your customer is, and generally in music, we have a certain base of clientele, people who are checking out your style of music. But having said that, there's always in that audience someone that you least expect that may have some control or power to invite you into a different situation, right? So you don't want to rule them out.
Right.
So having said that, one of the questions I have for you is, how important is the follow-up? And I know in the business world, because I'm in the music business, customer service, when people say that, it to me goes beyond just, okay, they're in front of my face. A lot of musicians think, okay, I did my show. That's it. I'm out. What is your response to that?
Ooh.
Exactly.
I'm going to say, ooh. Okay, so as far as service, I would say you just can't pack up and be like, I'm out. Whether it's, sending a message, sending a follow-up, shouting out, you're on a radio station. And say that somebody calls you, we have an interview like this, you shouting out some of those folks that came out to see you. But how I can relate that to what I do, I'm sending a thank you, and not just a generic thank you. If it's 10 people that really got me on that show, I'm sending them personal handwritten notes or personal follow-ups, just as a sign of gratitude, because they could have chose somebody else.
Right. There's a lot of other people they could have picked.
Exactly. They could have chose someone else. And, you know, I want to thank them for whatever engagement that they put in place to make sure that I'm on that stage. Or for me, you know, say I strike a good business deal in banking, or, you know, I lead a project. I'm making sure all those people who helped to get the project off the ground are thanked and appreciated, because I never want somebody to walk away and feel overlooked and undervalued with what they're contributing.
Right. And I would assume that's really important when someone pays to see you and someone helped bring you there. Like you said, and they could bring anybody. They've chosen you once, but that doesn't necessarily mean they have to choose you again. They could. It may not be the next year. It may be 5 years from now. But that note or that coffee mug or whatever you send to that person may make the difference.
Oh, yeah, because they're going to remember you.
They're going to remember that, right.
They're going to remember that, and they're going to say, you know what? This person went out of my way, went out of their way, rather, you know, just to thank me or make me feel a certain way because, you know, they're sitting up on a stage. And as far as the customer is concerned, you know, when you think about, we have so many platforms today, you know, social media, you have followers, you know, you let them know where you're going to be. Okay, so let them know. Thank for coming to see you. Thank them, you know, for getting, maybe you have an album that went to the next level, and I'm not as familiar with with musician talk.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean,
you know,
but that's important. I think all these things are important. For me, it's not about if you're familiar with it, because the person viewing your concert probably isn't familiar with it either. And the person who probably got you to the venue most of the time are not musicians either. It's usually somebody on a board or somebody's family member who saw a show or was at a wedding or another event and they heard this band in the background, or it was a recommendation. So it's really not about the musical terms. At the end of the day, the big gigs are usually not musicians sitting around deciding them. You know, so what you say is, I think, is very valid. Another question I have for you: do you think calling people who view a concert is customer an appropriate name for them? So I do a show, there's people in the audience. A lot of people say fans, right? And they can be your fans. But talking specifically about music business, do you think the term customer is appropriate, or do you think it devalues? Is it, in your mind, and someone in banking who deals with customer service, would you say it's the same in music? And how do you view it in your field?
Okay, so I'll answer my field first, and then I'll talk about the music part. So, you know, in banking, people come into the bank for specific reasons. And then, you know, we have relationship managers who manage their relationships, who, you know, kind of strike up conversations to help them think about things they may need that they haven't thought about. So you have two reasons that, you know, the customer's going to come in, and then you have somebody who's managing to help them grow their business, and they can recommend products. So, you know, when you look at that, it's really they start out as a customer, but then, you know, you're collaborating with them, so they become your partner in some sense.
So, so you're looking at that entity or group of people as a partner. And I think that's important, because I don't think most musicians think about people who listen to their music as a partner, but it is a partnership. It's
a partnership because they're collaborating with you to, in the music part, to help you get to where you like to be.
Really want to be, right?
They're collaborating with you, you know, because if they aren't coming to a show to buy a ticket, if they aren't buying a CD, you know, that you have produced or worked to create, you know, then you may not be able to get as far. So I think that in the music business, it's similar. I I wouldn't like the term to be called a customer when I go see a Beyonce concert.
Right, right.
I'm not her customer. You know, like some artists, their fans give them names. You know, so they're part of a family. When you think about it,
right, okay.
like the Beehive.
Beehive. I knew you were going to say that. I was waiting for that to come up.
So you're part of a family
right.
now. So, you know, it's a following. So, you know, even though you're depending, you could love your music, love your craft, but you're dependent upon somebody buying a ticket, buying a CD, coming to see you, so that way you can have a stream of income, right?
Right.
So therefore, you know, taking that customer aspect out of it and looking at it as a partnership, and even though technically they aren't, well, in a sense, you're going to see what you're playing. You'll see the reaction from people in the audience.
Right. So they need to pay attention.
Right. You got to pay attention.
Right. And this leads me to another question I wanted to ask you. Customer service in your line of work. And I think about this in terms of product with musicians, music, hats, shirts, blah, blah, blah. If someone has an issue, let's say at the bank, and this is probably really crazy extreme because I'm not in the banking business, but let's say I come to you, I need to get $50,000 out of the bank. We count it. It's all there. I leave. I go home. I count it, and $1,000 is missing. I come back to the bank. What is an appropriate way to address this? And how would you address it?
Well, you're going to do a couple things. You're definitely not just going to tell them, too bad, so sad. You're definitely not going to say that. But what you're going to do, you're going to take that money, you know, take them into an office, have a conversation, recount. And, you know, then you need to go back to whoever counted. A lot of times with that kind of money, it's vaults. You know, somebody could have wrapped money. You're just going to have to do an investigation.
Okay, so there's a process there to that. It's not just, it happens. You have a set process to figuring this out. Absolutely.
People come to the ATM machine, and it's similar. Say they ask for $500 and they got $450. You know, it's a process. It's a process for them to go through. We're not just going to say, "Oh, Mr. Customer, whatever."
Okay, and that's what I'm really trying to get to. This customer service aspect is, how do you respond to this? Even if you were right, you could have it on camera. All the money's there, you know. But the issue is, this person is saying there's 1,000 missing. How do you deal with that?
Okay, so Mr. Customer comes in. They say this money's missing. Okay, you know what, sir, ma'am, let's sit down and kind of talk about it. We do have a process that we will follow, so that way we can get to the bottom of it. You know, I'm going to ask them to be patient with us as we go through, you know, understanding their concerns. You know, I might in the back of my head know everything.
I know it's all there.
I know it's all there.
Right.
But I'm not going to make them feel, you know, like what they're saying isn't being heard.
Right.
You know, so number one and foremost, I want to hear them out.
Okay, so you're going to listen to what they have to say, even if you already know.
Right.
But you still have to go through this process.
I'm going to listen to them, you know, let them get everything out that they need to, and then I'll paraphrase what they're saying and, you know, potentially go through, you know, this is the process, give them the procedure, but assure them that we're going to come up with a resolution. And I try to be candid that resolution may not always be specifically what you're looking for. But rest assured, we're going to do, you know, our part to ensure that we get a resolution.
Okay.
You know, so I don't shut them down, but I am candid to say this may not potentially go the way you want it to go.
Okay.
But I want you to know that we're going to work to ensure that we look at tapes, count the money, do all the investigation that we need to do, you know, to make sure there is a resolution.
Right. And I think that's important because earlier, like you said, it's a relationship, right? So if you don't continue that relationship, then you've automatically cut that person off, and that's sales. So let's put this in perspective to the musician. Okay. We're going to do a little role play.
Okay.
You're going to be the musician.
Okay.
And I'm going to be the fan. Well,
Okay.
I won't say customer, the fan. And you just finished your show.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the whole set except one song. So I come to you because I want to meet you. Come backstage. I say, hey, Miss R, I loved your show. You know, it was absolutely amazing. But there's this one song I heard you do, and I really just don't like the guitar on that song. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you could do about that, or could you change it, or I don't know, could you put a clarinet? I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but this one instrument at that part, and I like the guitar, but it really bothers me. Could you do another version, or I don't know. I just wanted to come and ask, how would you respond to that?
You know what? First, I would tell them, thank you for coming to the concert. I'm glad that you enjoyed everything. You know what? I love your candor. You know, I never thought about it like that. I never thought about, you know, potentially another, you know, instrument, you know, and I think initially, as I guess, I'm not a musician, but I guess initially a musician probably is going to feel like, but I would talk to them and just say, well, give me your thought process. What are some suggestions?
Right. So let's say I said, well, you know, my issue with the guitar is that it's so loud when I'm in the front that it's hard for me to really hear the song like on the recording because it's live. Right. So is there any way, my suggestion would be to change it, but it's not so much change it because I'm the fan. It's more that it's loud because I'm in the very front, in front of these humongous 10-foot speakers.
Right. So, you know,
you're hearing that.
So I'm hearing that now. So I'm like, you know what? As I'm listening to you, it's not really the song that you don't like.
Right.
It's the volume.
Right. The volume.
You know what? And it's ways that you can adjust that. When you're in your car, you can do the bass, the tremble, and all that. Right. You can make some adjustments. So maybe my suggestion would be, now that I'm really hearing you,
right,
and I'm listening, maybe my suggestion would be, you know, to make some adjustments when you're listening to that song, so you can hear the particular instrument that you're trying to hear, or it's not so loud, so that way you can really enjoy. So again, it goes back to kind of what we said in the beginning. I have to listen and really hear, because people listen but they don't hear you.
Yeah, that's a big issue in music all the time.
Right. So the person, and when that person came up, you know, and I know I'm not the musician, but you know, it's your piece. You put your heart and soul in it, and somebody's saying, I don't like it.
Right. And
you're
that's where it gets
you're
tricky.
Gonna take
you
it
get personally. Right. Yeah, that's a big issue.
You're going to take that personal. Yeah. So,
but at the same time, they're still a fan.
Right.
So you have to figure out, okay, do I go gorilla on them and you don't like my tune, or do you hear them out? Because they may have a valid concern,
right,
that a million other people have as well.
Right. But they also could have a concern that you potentially had a concern with when you made the song, but maybe it came out so good that you kind of let it go. And it could go, say, you know what, that's interesting. When I made that song, you know, I really kind of thought about that.
Yeah, the same thing.
And it's being honest. You know, you can be candid, but then too, the flip side is, you know, if you didn't, and you helped me out with a little bit more information. So now it's, am I really listening to what they say? And how about, because I know about the music, I can give them some suggestions on how to make some adjustments at home or in the car. So that way, when they listen to it, they really can enjoy it.
Okay.
And then too, you know what? I know you like to be up front, to be up close and personal with me, but you might have to scoot back a little bit. You know, choose the fifth row instead of the first row.
Right.
You know,
they're showing you they're a fan.
Right. I want you here, you know, but it just seems like maybe we got to get you in the right spot. In wherever, you know, you're playing. But, you know, and you know what? You might could even take it a step further get their information, find out where you're going to be at next. And, this may be some income you may lose, but, to show that fan that you hear them. And you can't do it with everybody.
Right.
But this particular person had a particular concern.
It was a concern, right.
So maybe send them a ticket and put them in a specific spot.
Better space.
And then get that feedback. And I'm sure they'll probably be raising their hand and having a good time.
Some people.
Right, and they may bring some people because
they
may
get their
say,
money back.
This person
they actually contacted me.
They like because they gave you they said things were good, but then they gave you an area of opportunity and you didn't take it in a negative way. You turned around and said, you know what? Thanks for the feedback. Here's some feedback for you. And by the way, let me get your information because when I'm back in town or somewhere close, I want you to come back and see me because I want to make sure you have a great experience.
Right. So that's how you would end the conversation. Right. And I think that's important. Like once you get to that point, you got to figure out how you're going to get out of it in a peaceful way that helps, constructive, that helps both of you.
Yeah, you have people come in the bank and, back in the day when I was in the branches, they came in the bank and they would,
they want to wild out, right? Yeah, I mean, it's money.
Wild out. And, I'm like, okay, take a deep breath, have a seat, calm your nerves for a second, and then we'll be able to have a conversation because I can't have a conversation with you yelling.
Right.
So it's kind of similar, about what you didn't do. Okay, well, let's look at this.
Right.
So just keeping a even head when you're having those conversations, will really help with the customer, the fan base, the partner, the family that's out there that's coming to see you.
Exactly. All right. Well, that's going to bring us to a close. I know we went a little long today, but it's good because we're talking about money and this is part of music business. So I'd like to thank Miss R, as I call her. That's
Sounds
right.
Good.
Romaine Johnson. And like I always say, this is music business. What is this?
Bye-bye.
This program is partially supported by a grant from the Illinois Arts Council Agency.